Welcome to another episode of Around the Campfire with AmeriCamp, the ultimate summer camp podcast. I'm Jen and I'm lucky to be here with Dennis Wong, our CEO from Intrax, for another cool episode. So hey Dennis, how are you?
Hello Jen, good to see you again.
Good to have you back. You've been doing a lot of exciting projects since we last saw you, and we wanted to get you on to sort of chat about what you've been up to. So for all of those that don't know, Dennis Wong is the CEO of Intrax, and he has been doing some different kind of content projects for the kind of greater sphere of Intrax and all of their cultural exchange programs called Intrax Out of Office. So yeah, it would just be great to start off with hearing the inspiration behind that project, sort of how it came together with the series, and the different kind of places that you've been to so far.
So I would say the idea actually started germinating when I first started with Intrax. I love content and I love storytelling, and when I first started Intrax, there was so much amazing stories. Like just when I was meeting with our staff, our teams, I would hear just amazing stories from our participants, and I just we have to find a way to capture this and share those stories, because they end up just going into a report that gets filed away, shipped off to the Department of State or whomever, and these stories were so amazing. So I was like, we have to tell these stories. That was kind of the start of it. And then I would say about a couple years ago, I had this idea of doing this road trip series where I wanted to kind of connect more with our field team, right? And be on the road, visit people's hometowns, because we have quite a bit of a spread across the country, across the U.S., right? Like we have staff in 40 states, we have participants all over the country, right? And so many of our staff don't even realize what our programs are. A lot of people are siloed, so they don't really realize how many programs we have, what are actually each of the programs do, and also a lot of our staff don't get a lot of face time. So this was a way to really kind of get out there, connect with our staff in the field, and also share these stories with all the rest of our staff, right? But I would say again, going back to the power of storytelling, to me that was one of the key goals, is capturing these incredible stories from our participants, from our hosts, really trying to sharing it. It's really building on our mission of cultural exchange in a different platform. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's great that you got to live each of these experiences within each episode, because there's 2 episodes out so far, obviously more to come, but from the ones that are out already and the ones to come, as far as I'm aware, you're essentially living each of these sort of programs episode by episode. Are you able to kind of chat through the different kind of experiences that you had with that? I know that you have a high school program, for example, so it'd be great to hear sort of what each episode is modeled after, really, and sort of what you got up to location wise.
Yeah, we really want to highlight each of our programs, and like you mentioned, that the high school program is one of the ones we started with. And so we went to visit a high school that hosts a dozen of our students each year. This school has hosted over 200 students over the past 20 years. It's quite amazing. And the school is actually in a very small town in rural, Oregon. It's a place that most people may not even have heard of, right? Yeah. So that's the other thing too. It's how do we bring recognition to these places that often don't get a lot of visibility, right? Or there's assumptions about what it's like to be in rural America. So yeah, it's really incredible to go out there and meet our community representatives who are our fabric, who represent the program out in the field, and who have the real connections with the schools, who are the local support for these students when they're here for their high school year. And also we met some school educators, administrators, and we met with, of course, lots of participants and even host families. So it was quite an experience. We try to highlight different programs, and it's been a lot of fun.
I wish I was there for this road trip. It sounds like an amazing kind of, obviously travel is at the crux of all of these cultural exchange programs, so I think it's great for you, obviously being the CEO, to sort of, as I said, sort of experience all of these sort of the other side of the participants' view on sort of what their sort of life is like on these programs in the US. And I think it's a really powerful thing to showcase, and I think it's really great for people who are maybe thinking about doing these kind of programs and want more of a visual of what it would be like to experience that. And I think it's going to be fantastic for people to kind of see that and sort of be in your shoes as well. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic project. Let's dive into the Via West episode, which by the time this is out will be available to watch. So for those that aren't aware, Dennis spotlit the AmeriCamp program and went to one of our amazing camps, Camp Via West, which is based in California. It's a special needs camp, and they have an absolutely amazing sort of team and staff, and our participants had such an amazing, impactful summer. But yeah, you were obviously there for a portion of that, so it would be great to hear a bit about the curation of that episode, how it was for you, and yeah, just sort of what that sort of looked like.
First off, the camp director, Elisa, she's absolutely phenomenal. She's such an inspiration, and I think that really sets the tone, the vision for the program and the experience for both the campers and the camp counselors. As you mentioned, it's a special needs camp, and that really makes it unique in some ways. In some ways, it's actually, when you first arrive, it feels like any other camp. It's in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the woods. You're surrounded by nature. You have all these amazing kind of facilities like, pools, sports courts, and all that fun stuff. But then once you kind of start meeting the participants, and you realize, this is quite different. Working with children and adults with disabilities. So this camp, they operate only during the summertime, and they actually support both children and adults with disabilities. And just working in this kind of environment can be very different in the sense because each of these individuals, these participants there, these campers, have unique needs, and that can change even by the second or hour, and so you have to be kind of very adaptable and flexible, and so you can tell genuinely like that all the staff, the people who work there, they're really supportive of this mission. It's not just working with children or having a passion for children, but it's also the added impact you're having on these people with disabilities in the community surrounded by that.
Yeah, I think that it connects with me on a personal level quite specifically because my whole camp experience is special needs, and that's something that I lived through my AmeriCamp program. And I think a big misconception that our participants have is that, well, if it's a special needs camp, there's going to be so many things that it doesn't have compared to a traditional camp, and it's almost sort of weighing them sort of against each other. And I think that, as you sort of rightfully said, sort of coming into camp, it's in the middle of nature, you've got all of these facilities, and it is like any other camp. It's just adapted for those additional needs sort of changing as they are. And I think that that's a really important message for anyone sort of doing the program and looking to sort of broaden their horizons and work within special needs, that it is like any other camp. And if anything, I found it more rewarding, and I just felt like my work was more meaningful. I loved it, and I wish more people sort of had that experience. But obviously you were there not just as a visitor or the Intrax, you were there as a camp counsellor, which is great. You were living out what many of our participants are doing for the full duration of the summer. So yeah, it would be great to hear a little bit about your camp counsellor experience, sort of what you did sort of being a camp counsellor at a special needs camp, specifically at Via West, and just kind of chatting through what that was like and what different aspects were involved in that.
Yeah, and so when I first got oriented with the campus there, the camp, I think Alyssa really set the tone for me. Like just hearing her story is very inspirational. She herself is also deaf, and she also explained to me like maybe some of the sensitivities or the nuances that come along. I mean, for example, I didn't know that like she actually said she prefers to be called or her participants, she calls them as children with disabilities rather than special needs. So I thought that was interesting, right?
That's really interesting.
And I think to me it's like it's recognizing what's unique and special about people and not what's different or what's challenging, but it's more like what is possible, right? And the way she worded it, I could not paraphrase, but you have to watch the episode. Yeah, she is such an inspiration. But I think that really helped me kind of put my mind around like what it was like, because what to expect as being a camp counselor for the day, because it was quite challenging, right? Like a lot of the campers. Some of them were just like maybe kids that you would see in any camp, and then there's some kids were had maybe shorter attention spans or would go into fits, and so you had to like be just super adaptable and flexible. One particular memory was we played this game called Wacky Hockey, and it was so cool. Like we basically they took these pool phone
like a pill noodle.
Yeah, those pool phones, and they turned into like hockey sticks. And when I first started, I was like, oh, like why are we using these pool phone sticks? And I think part of it was for safety, right?
Yeah.
But the other part I think is also because in with the children with disabilities, they're more tactile, so they need like things that they can more easily grasp onto.
Yeah.
And so like those like little details, like not just in that one activity, but all throughout the day, like they have to like, to your point, they have to cater to the campers' needs. And so I think like it was definitely just even working on the camp for a few hours, it's like, oh wow, this is like these camp counselors have to do it for weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm only there for like a few hours. I was like, okay, yeah, it's not an easy job, but to your point, it is very meaningful and rewarding.
Yeah. From what you've said with Alyssa, I think that she's like so inspiring, and I think that a lot of the sort of points that she was saying in terms of like educating sort of others, I think is like really, really powerful. And I think it's something that a lot of people sort of doing the program for 2025 will be really kind of excited to sort of learn more and sort of hear and sort of see that perspective. I think it's a really great episode for anyone that's applied for the program that's sort of not sure what different camp types are and sort of what that looks like. And again, it's one of the kind of best sort of behind the scenes episodes to be able to see exactly sort of what you're signing up to and sort of what they...
I found such a sense of community when I was there, like even amongst the camp counselors. I think because of the added special needs component, like that actually really brought the camp counselors even closer together. I could tell like they were just so happy to see each other when they're passing by or on their breaks, and they would do activities together, on the weekends or on off hours. Yeah, there's a really strong sense of community.
And I think that that's something across all of the programs through cultural exchange through Intrax, is the community is at such a core of sort of all the different programs that you can do, whether that's the American program or au pair or the high school program. They're really kind of centered around that community, and that's really clear throughout the Out of Office series. And I think that everyone needs to watch it. So I think with the kind of special needs sort of adults and children with disabilities, as well as obviously the sort of inclusion section that you've mentioned, is really important. And I think that that's something that even for our participants and kind of staff, that's such a message that is key for the team around the campers as well. And I think like having that sort of inclusivity in that community like really is really important for the kind of operations of the camp, and it's clear that Alyssa specifically is curating such an amazing kind of community within her staff at Via West. So that's amazing. Obviously, you had an opportunity to meet not only the campers and the staff at Via West, but some of our lovely AmeriCamp participants from AmeriCamp through the UK, Spain, our partners in Mexico and kind of various different offices. What were your sort of conversations and interactions like there? And have you got any sort of stories or anything that you would like to share from those sort of interactions?
Yeah, it was really cool to see that we had counselors from, I think it was like maybe 8 or 9 different countries represented. It was really cool. And I think to your point before about inclusivity, I mean, working with a camp that specializes with children with disabilities, it's that's just another form of diversity and inclusion, right? And as you know, like obviously what we do as a program, we are all about bringing cultures together.
Absolutely.
And so it was really cool to see the different countries represented. I mean, it's hard to say like if I had one particular favorite because everybody's, like I said, just so genuinely just happy and talkative and willing to share their experience. But I will say there was one gentleman from the UK that was in the episode that he was interesting because he actually had a background in law. He was studying to be a lawyer. He could have done an internship at probably any law firm, and I think he probably actually has already done one too before, but he wanted to join this program, and I think that kind of speaks to the experience aspect, right? It's not just it's not a job necessarily, right? Yes, there is a role to play, but I think at the end of the day, it's that mission, helping others and connecting with others, the sense of community. So that really kind of showed to me that this program has this broader appeal, and of course we also had a fun time at the pool, which you'll see in the episode.
I can't wait. I think that speaks so true to the message of the program. I think that on previous episodes we'd spoken about even your cultural exchange experience when you sort of had like semesters abroad and things like that, and obviously with camp there's such amazing avenues for if you're wanting to go into, whether it's teaching, whether it's like support work, social work, even like sports coaching. There's so many different avenues where camp gives you such amazing practical experience. But I think on the side of even just like your character and your empathy, there's so many fantastic sort of lessons learned from that role. So it doesn't really matter what job you're going to end up in, like whether you're going to be a CEO, whether you're going to be a lawyer, whether you're going to be a teacher. I think it's something that definitely carries with you, and
you're going to feel 100 million different emotions, and it'll push you to in your extremes, your boundaries, and it'll actually push you further than you would ever thought that you would maybe have the potential to, or even grow. You'll grow so fast, and that's exactly what Daniel said, is the amount of growth you see being on program.
Yeah, I think even from a personal experience, the sort of 9 weeks I was at camp felt like 2 years, but in the best way. Like whether that was within the breakthroughs I had with my campers, the sort of deep friendships that I curated with my co-counselors, with like the leadership staff. I think that if you were to replicate that in my normal life, you can't really fathom that from the starting point, this is what is going to look like 2-3 months later. And I think that's the magic of camp. And I think that's the magic of cultural exchange, and sort of you can never really predict the other side of this program, but it's always positive. Like there's always something, a lesson learned. There's always a part of yourself that you discover from kind of putting yourself in the position of trying something new and sort of being out of your comfort zone and really pushing yourself. So I think it's fantastic that you've been able to sort of try on the different shoes of the programs throughout the whole series, and I think that you're still going to be getting those lessons even throughout those kind of days days of being sort of through these visits, and I think that it's incredible. So we obviously have, as I said, by the time this episode is out, the Out of Office Intrax Americamp at Via West episode will be out, so I definitely recommend everyone tunes in. We will put a link in the podcast bio on our Instagram for everyone to sort of check that out. But what is on the next horizon for you? Obviously you've completed this series, but I can't imagine that it's going to stop there. So have you got any sort of projects on the horizon, things that you're looking forward to doing that you can share with us if they're not top secret?
Yeah, I mean, this whole process has just been a learning process, right? Because I'm a big believer, like the best way to learn is just to get out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
And you learn by experience, and you just get better at it once you go through the process. So yeah, we kind of just dove right in, and we started with Portland and Seattle in the northwest, and obviously the episode in California. We're starting to head east. I think you'll find maybe upcoming some episodes in Colorado and possibly Wisconsin. So that's kind of on the horizon. So yeah, hopefully the goal is to hit all of our programs and to get a good representation of to highlight staff and locations in the field, and we'll see where it goes.
And I think it's just a great watch as well. I feel like for those that maybe haven't been to the US before and they're sort of working out what camp they want to go to, and I feel like everyone is saying like, oh, they might be more familiar with like LA, New York, but there's these like Midwest states, for example, that you can have an absolutely amazing experience, and you might not know what that looks like, but you will from watching these episodes of Out of Office of Intrax. Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's an amazing project, and I can't wait to see what else we do sort of over the years, and sort of what we can do with, maybe we do an Americamp Out of Office. The world's our oyster. But yeah, it was really great to
the goal would be to go international eventually. Yes. But yeah, get on the road.
Yeah, it was really great to chat to you, Dennis. Thank you so much. And yeah, everyone check out Intrax Out of Office. Bye.